Welcome to my blog. This is the part 4 of a family road trip to northern Japan in Hokkaido. If you have not seen the last couple episodes, I put the links in the description below for you to check them out. After spending a day exploring Hakodate City, we are heading further north in Hokkaido. Now we have arrived at Nikka Whisky distillery in Yoichi. Nikka is a Japanese whiskey company that dates back to 1934. The company's founder, Masataka Taketsuru, is widely considered to be the father of Japanese whiskey, with distilling having run in the family for generations before the company was founded. Masataka Taketsuru was born in 1894 into a sake distilling family that resided in Hiroshima. In 1918, the young Taketsuru embarked on a trip to Scotland to learn about the process of making Scotch whiskey. He was fascinated by whiskey and was excited to learn more. He enrolled at the University of Glasgow taking chemistry classes. He also apprenticed at multiple distilleries. These distilleries include Longmorn, Hazelburn, and James Calder. Given the chance to go to Scotland, Masataka became the first Japanese ever to master how to make whiskey. The young and passionate man was fortunate to learn firsthand from craftsmen and have a practical trainings to master blending. The 2 notebooks filled with every detail later became Japan's very first guide in whiskey production. In 1920, Masataka returns to Japan with his Scottish wife, Jessie Roberta Rita. The two had married earlier that year, and Rita decided to immigrate to Japan to support her husband's dream. However, after returning to Japan, Masataka and Rita were heartbroken to find out that Setsu Shuzo, the company which invested in Masataka to learn in Scotland, had to abandon its plan to produce genuine whiskey in Japan due to recessions after World War I. In the meantime, another company, Kotobukiya Limited, currently called Suntory, was in search for someone who could conduct whiskey production. Being the only Japanese who knew how to produce whiskey at that time, Masataka was hired by Kotobukiya in 1923 to direct building the Yamazaki distillery. There he led the project and devoted himself to producing Japan's first genuine whiskey. After his 10-year contract with Kotobukiya, Masataka decided to become independent to make his own ideal whiskey. In 1934, he went north and built his first distillery in Yoichi, Hokkaido, where this distillery exists now. A place though inconveniently located, he had always considered to be the ideal site for him to make whiskey. The environmental conditions of Yoichi were in many ways similar to those of Scotland, in a cool climate, crisp air, and appropriate humidity. The company first started producing apple products under the name of Dai Nippon Kaju, meaning the Great Japanese Juice Company, while he was preparing to produce whiskey. In 1936, the first spot still designed by Masataka and made in Japan was installed and started distillation. Finally, in 1940, the first whiskey from Nikka was launched, and the brand name of this whiskey was Nikka Whisky, short for Nippon Kaju, which later became the name of the company itself. Alright, moving on, we are in Otaru. It is a small harbor city about half an hour northwest of Sapporo by train. Its beautifully preserved canal area and interesting Hurley mansions make Otaru a pleasant day trip from Sapporo, or a nice stop en route to or from Niseko or the Shakotan Peninsula. From the early days of Hokkaido's colonization in the late 1800s, Otaru served as a major trade and fishing port. It was hence chosen as the terminal station of Hokkaido's first railway line that connected the port with nearby Sapporo. Many old warehouses and former office buildings by shipping and trade companies give Otaru's city center a special character reminiscent of past decades. Otaru Canal, Otaru Unga, was a central part of the city's busy port in the first half of the 20th century. Large vessels were unloaded by smaller ships, which then transported the goods to warehouses along the canal. The canal became obsolete when modern dock facilities allow for direct unloading of larger vessels. Thanks to a citizens' movement, a part of the canal was beautifully restored in the 1980s instead of being landfilled, while the warehouses were transformed into museums, shops, and restaurants. After exploring Nikka Whisky distillery in Otaru City, we are heading to Sapporo. On the way there, we decide to make a stop at Costco, Japan, and we got our dinner for today. The trip continues, but that's it for today's episode. As always, thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.